As I've said in previous episodes in this series, the first half of Leviticus is concerned primarily with the sanctuary and access to the sanctuary. It covers all the sacrificial rites, talks about the ordination of the priests, it lays out the rules of purification, and then chapter 16 at the center of the book, the structural center of the book, is the Day of Atonement passage. Once you get past the Day of Atonement, the book moves from the sanctuary out into the land, and the accent is much more on the life of Israel in the land. And that connection between sanctuary and land is crucial and it's integral. Israel does not approach the Lord in the sanctuary so that they can live any old way out in the land. They approach God, having come from the land and living a certain way in the land. They approach the Lord and He receives or does not receive their offerings. After they've come into the presence of God, they're supposed to go out and live in a way that is consistent with their access to the presence of God. There are a number of things that are highlighted in this last part of Leviticus. There are two pretty lengthy chapters about sexual sins, Leviticus 18 and 20. Israel is to have different sexual customs, different sexual mores than both Egypt, where they came from, and from the Canaanites, where they're going. The rules are largely rules of incest, but also include severe condemnation of bestiality, of homosexuality, of adultery. Leviticus 20 lays out the civil punishments for all of these types of sins. Certain forms of incest are punished by death. Adultery is punished by death. Sodomy is punished by death. Bestiality is punished by death. All of those sexual rules have to do with life in the land. Perverse sexuality, sexual sin, is one of the things that defiles the land. And when the land gets defiled, the land gets sick, and the land is going to spit out the inhabitants of the land. That's what happens to the Canaanites. The Canaanites made the land sick. Of course, Israel came in and they removed the Canaanites, or supposed to, but the land was already sick of the Canaanites and was already spewing them out, vomiting them out of the land. So maintaining sexual purity is essential if Israel is going to enjoy the life of the land that the Lord has given them. Nestled between those two chapters about sexuality is Leviticus 19, which is an unusual chapter in the context of Leviticus. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the surrounding concerns with purity and impurity, with sacrifice and the sanctuary. It famously includes Jesus' second great commandment, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And it deals with a lot of specific rules about life in the land. If you were to highlight a couple of things that stand out in that chapter, the love commandment obviously stands out. Israel is to love the Lord with their God with all their heart, soul, strength, and mind. That's what Moses tells them in Deuteronomy 6. Prior to that, Leviticus tells them that they have to love their neighbors as themselves. They come into the presence of a gracious God who has given them access to Him through the priests, through sacrifices, and now they're supposed to exhibit that kind of grace and mercy and love to their brothers. Later in Leviticus 19, that rule is extended to strangers. You don't just love your neighbors as yourself, but you love the stranger. Love the stranger as you love the native. Love the stranger as yourself, Leviticus 19 requires. That's again life in the land, life interacting with non-Israelites. You're supposed to have the same attitude and stance toward them that you do to your brothers. So love stands out as a standard of Israelites' life in the land. Another thing that stands out is justice and care of the poor. There are rules about gleaning in Leviticus 19, provision for the poor, the orphans, the widows, those who don't have land of their own. They share in the abundance of the land by gleaning. The chapter ends with a series of rules about just weights and measures. You're not supposed to fiddle with the measure. You don't want to, sell a bushel of wheat that's not actually a bushel of wheat. It's a little bit less than a bushel of wheat. But take the money for a bushel and sell a little less than a bushel. That's an injustice and an abuse in everyday life that God abhors. And Yahweh forbids Israel to conduct themselves and to engage in those kind of abusive and unjust economic practices. Their economic life, as their sexual life, is governed by the Lord. Another long chapter in this section of Leviticus is about the festival calendar of Israel. That's in Leviticus 23. And it lays out 7 different festivals, starting with the weekly Sabbath, dealing with the three main festivals of Israel, the Passover, Pentecost, and the Feast of Booths, and then some lesser festivals that are in Israel. There are several things that are important to the theology of festivity and the theology of the festival calendar. The festival calendar of Israel is pegged to the movements of the stars, of the sun and the moon in particular. As the tabernacle is made after the heavenly pattern for the sanctuary, so Israel's festival life is made after the heavenly clocks that are in the heavens that God set up to govern and to be signs and for seasons to Israel. So the festival, the organization of time in Israel is reflecting the organization of time in heaven. You have that heaven and earth correspondence. Also, there's an accent on communion with God, meeting with Him. The tabernacle throughout Leviticus is called the tent of appointment or the tent of meeting. The festivals of Israel called Moedim, appointments. Those are times, not just times that are scheduled, but times that are scheduled where you have an opportunity and appointment to enter into the presence of God. All of the festivals involve holy convocations. The Sabbath involves holy convocations. Even though the Israelites don't come to the tabernacle every Sabbath day, they do have holy convocations every Sabbath day. Wherever they are, they're meeting together and they are worshiping and serving the Lord. And then on the special festivals, they come to the tabernacle and they worship there. So the gathering together of all the people and having access together to the Lord that's the heart of festivity in ancient Israel. And the final note of the festival theology of Leviticus is a note of joy. Israel comes into the presence of God in order to eat, drink, and rejoice in His presence. That's language that's taken from Deuteronomy. But Leviticus accents that as well. Again, I said this from the beginning of this series, the whole point of this complicated Levitical system. There's so many details. They're hard to keep in mind. They're hard to follow. We don't do any of them anymore. The heart of that whole system is to give Israel access to the Lord so they can come into His presence and rejoice before Him. And all of the provisions for sin are for that purpose, so Israel can enjoy communion with their Lord.